everyone, welcome to Ties That Bind Foundation series for World Mental Health Day 2020. We're a Section 8 company non-profit organization working closely with 4 pillars: education, care for the elderly, mental health and ties that unite. This year's theme focuses on greater investment and greater accessibility for everyone, everywhere. As our third pillar focuses on mental health, we have subject matter experts speaking on topics that relate to the pillars of our foundation, which resonate with this year's theme. While people were worried about the virus outbreak and trying to keep their families safe, schools took an important decision of imposing lockdown in this very crucial period. This created a drastic impact on students, teachers, and parents as well. This affected the educational needs of not only regular students but also children with special needs. This also affected employability. Sustainable employment is a big challenge for adults with disabilities, especially for adults who have moderate to severe challenges. To speak more about this, we have Ms. Anuradha Mahesh, who is a social entrepreneur at SNEH, Special Needs Empowerment Hub. This organization works with adults with disabilities and other institutions that work with adults with disabilities through a common platform. This in turn facilitates their productive engagement based on their skill set, thereby providing financial independence and dignity.
We'll start with the positives first. We have seen a number of, I am a special mother myself. I have a special son. In my case, if you see, it has actually been quite beneficial for my son because I think having a relaxed routine, at the same time having a routine, I think helps him to also be better and happier to keep doing about his work. Because maybe sometimes going out to institutions, he was doing certain things that he, one or two things that he really didn't like. But whereas at home, it was more a choice. So he decides what he wants to do, what he need not to. So for some, and this is also a conversation I've had with many, co-parents. So some of them have said that it's actually been much better because the parents are also some way a little bit stress-free. There are many who keep running between therapies. You're either there for physiotherapy or speech therapy or something. So the fact that you don't have to run between therapies and something is provided online, so you're still able to, take the essence of it. And so actually coming to say for some of them, for maybe some sectors in some aspects, it's been beneficial because you're slightly lower stressed and you're able to space out your day with whatever needs to be brought in. But having said that, there is a flip side. There are some parents who say that having the older children at home and for many who don't understand why we are stuck at home, it does become an issue. So though you try to, lockdown is a new term, we all have learned in 2020. COVID is, definitely a new term. So even for us, the whole thing is abstract. We still don't know what exactly COVID does to you or what is it or, what you would go through. It's been very different from, even people to people and even from your own friends who have been, who have been going through even tough times. So in such cases, you really don't know what to expect. And I think that anxiety sometimes does lead to frustration. So though you have a plan, sometimes you're not able to execute the plan well because you're not you're not calm to be able to do it. So there is a flip side. But I think the only way to look at it, because, this has been an, situation which has been thrown to everybody. Nobody expected this. So now it's important as to how we actually face it. So we have been telling a lot of parents as well as, friends, all of us when we talk, we're only saying, okay, now with the given circumstances, what is the best that you can do? So you can take so much that is available online and maybe get down to do certain things that you were not doing or you were executing it to the caregivers. Maybe this is the time sometimes the parents themselves have got into with the children away from caregivers. So it also helps you understand the importance of the caregiver role, the importance of the tasks which is actually life skills. So I think, this phase has actually taught us some life skills which we would not have otherwise also learned. So we look at it from a positive angle. Yes, you do have a flip side, but the positivity is what we are trying to understand better and try to implement and execute. To put it into practice is what takes time, and now it's been 6-7 months we are all into it, so getting there. I'm not currently with an institution now, so I can't exactly give you an institution angle that is happening. But from a parent perspective, I can even talk about the teachers who are spending a lot of time trying to do this online, especially for special need children. For example, whether it is skill training or whether it is yoga or whether it is physical education, it is so much easier to be done on the field physically with a set of a batch of students present. But trying to focus, look into the computer to see what each one is doing, to try to get their attention, it's not at all easy. It's like even when two of us are having a conversation, it requires a lot of effort to be, to put in, to look into the screen, to be able to talk, to focus and answer. So obviously it's very difficult for the teacher also. And unfortunately, not all of them are technologically, I would say savvy, or they have not had the benefit of learning technology like somebody from an IT sector does today. But having said that, everybody has adapted to Zoom calls. People have adapted to Skype. They have adapted to Google Meets. They have adapted to Microsoft Teams. They're learning. Everybody's exploring. So I think hats off to that. It requires a lot more patience than dealing on the ground. And it is also very difficult from what I understand. I have a close friend who's also a coordinator for a special school. So she tells me that it's very difficult because you have to keep juggling between classes. So it's like, for maybe the parent and the student, it is just one class. But for the teacher, you're there and they mean, the next hour you're somewhere else. So you also have to be mentally try to move from one window, one meeting to another, which is not very easy. And especially with special children, it takes much more time because you are trying to get the focus and attention of every child. And it is not easy. Even in a physical environment, it's not easy. And in this kind of environment, sometimes you just tend to give up because you have no control of the student on the other side of the screen. So it is tough. But having said that, of course, they're all doing great job, and it's been like 3-4 months. Even my son's class is going on pretty well. So I also sometimes am amazed at the kind of patience and the repeated instructions that they are able to stick to without getting hassled or angry or giving into any kind of human nature. So that way it's good. As a parent, it is difficult as to start with also because you're so used to having the child go into a setup to learn. So when you have to recreate that at home, it's again difficult. And you also try to understand, what works, what does not work, does this lighting work, does this room environment work? And to make a special child or even an adult with special need understand that you have to do all this from a home environment. See, we have that kind of a cognitive, demarcation where we can say, okay, now I'm going to office, I'm getting into this meeting, so I will be, in an office mode. And then once I'm into my living room or into the dining room, I'm back home. But it's very difficult for students or adults with special needs to get into that kind of cognition very easily. So that is a challenge. So they also undergo that with themselves, and which also affects the parents because it's not so easy to say like, now we are moving from your room to the dining room, the class is over, let's get here. So to be mentally focused, to be physically aware, and trying to be, also, updated yourself on the technology front, everything does take a toll. But as we say, this is one of the best learnings. And the positive side I've seen is now at least, most of the special needs feel very, they also feel very wanted because the entire family is around them. So that's a good thing. It's always like, the mother was doing something, father was doing something, grandparents were, doing something if you were living in a, in a joint family. In a nuclear family, obviously everybody was doing their own things, and it was a bit of a struggle. But now it's like, since everything is at home, it's only a question of time management. It's a question of having your priorities right. It's a question of saying what is most important to you. So that scheduling is tough. It takes time. But I think now with this 5-6 months, everybody has understood the importance of time management, from the child to the student to the parents, and there is a lot of togetherness that is coming in here. So everybody appreciates the other. The child also appreciates the efforts put in by the parents. The parents also appreciates the efforts put in by the child as well as the caregiver. Like, as good thing as like how we were all struggling without the support system during the lockdown, you tend to appreciate the importance of your support system much better. So I think that's the positive side that we are all seeing. And many of the students are, at least my friends' kids, we all feel that there's a lot of togetherness that has come. So they are able to understand, be more, so they feel wanted. Otherwise, generally, there is also this feeling that you go leave a child in a, in a center because fine, you just don't know what to do the whole day. And it's very difficult for them to cope, for you to cope with their challenges. But now we have all learned to cope that together under one roof. So I guess this is a good learning. It is some kind of understanding that everybody at their own personal level have learned. Also go back to what I was also talking earlier. So the absence of going somewhere physically to work, it does affect some people. So the idea that you are going somewhere to work, so obviously, you dress appropriately, you have your soft skills in place when you go. Now everything is in the same environment, moving from one room to another. So it is a bit of a struggle for people to, for the, special needs with intellectual challenges to understand that, yes, this, I'm sure they're missing the peer group. Though it is available online and virtually, it is still not something that is physically to say hi or to be together, so that is a challenge, and it is not it does impact them a bit on the mental mind, but to say that the opportunities now that people are able to focus and learn online is a very good thing. For example, in SNE, the Special Need Empowerment Hub, initially in the month of June, we were wondering how would we take about this, because we were having students working at various institutions trying to make products or trying to have some kind of a job orders or sheltered employment opportunity, which SNE was taking to the commercial market. So when that was happening, it was easier. But in June, we were also wondering how do we do this. So because the students are not coming to institutions, then they are at home. Some of them who are in group homes, then again, how do you recreate that facility? So we started online training, whether it is soap making or candle making. Initially, it was a little difficult because it's very difficult to, teach measurements, proportion, the actual feel of what you're doing. It was difficult. But I think, again, with 3-4 weeks, by the end of July and August, we have understood, okay, now this is how it has to be done. So the trainers have also picked up, the students also have understood. But it is also giving them something to look forward to. So they know this 1 hour they will be having an online class, which will be like a physical demonstration of whatever needs to be done. But this takes a toll on the parents, because the parents obviously need to spend that much time to be, doing this. It is not easy for parents who are on full-time job, who have to be available at office or, at their call in the respective computers. For them, obviously, it is more difficult. But for parents who are at home and who are able to cope up to this and understand, obviously, they started appreciating this online training. So with online training, now we are trying to do the production towards the festive season. So we are helping them do paper bags at home. We are helping them to stitch masks at home. So there is one unit which will do the cutting. It goes to another set of things. So yeah, there is some unnecessary, expenditure and wastage on logistics. And there is, a lot of courier up and down that needs to be going. But I guess that's part of the game that we don't have a choice about. We don't have any control over. So it's okay, as long as there is a lot of positive and productive engagement that is happening with the groups, with the institutions that we set out, we are very happy. And now from October, slowly we are having few people coming to the workplace following the COVID protocols. So we don't have more than 3 students coming, and there's a ratio of 3:1. everybody with masks and taking care of. There is a sanitizer facility. So all this is being taken care of. But yeah, because COVID has not gone anywhere, we have to continue to be very careful and not be too enthusiastic about coming together. So we still want to maintain the balance of doing the classes online. And for those who really, really want to come out, then even that it is limited to maybe an hour or two a day so that they go back. And it will only be thrice a week. And with a lot of strict, temperature control, everything. So because I think we need to maintain the protocols because the risk of COVID is much, much higher than anything that we set out to do today. So we have to be cautious. So we are able to manage this online training that so far. But another 6 months, if we have to do it this way, we don't know where we will be. It might get to a point of a bit of frustration, but then we just have to walk the path and see where we'll be. One thing, I am not exactly the right person to answer the question because I'm sure there are so many experts on this field who might be able to give you a better answer. The only thing that comes to my mind when I read that question is, see, during this COVID, the phase, there was one or two situations that I heard where the parents were COVID impacted. Then what happens to the special child? Who's going to take care of the child? Now nobody wants to come and take care of the child. Whether it's also it is reasonable if your neighbors are not willing to take care, if your extended family is not willing to take care, then what happens? So that was when we were thinking maybe there has to be some homes which are already running group homes where they can accommodate such children, keep them occupied at the same time also in isolation or quarantine, and give them that little positiveness and slightly better mental health because they are lost. Now the parents have to be away for 14 days. Now obviously it's not the parents' choice, they are forced to. Now what happens to the their child? So whether the child is 14 or 16 or 18 or 20, whichever age, if a special need, it was a situation that people didn't have an answer for. So this is something maybe when we're talking about accessibility, we need to look at, I don't know who can set it up or what needs to be done, but definitely that was lacking. For some time we're wondering where would these two children go. Even if I wanted to, obviously I can't go pick up the child and come home. So nobody would be doing it. So in that case, now what is the answer? So we had certain questions for which there are no answers. We are also trying to maybe seek that as a platform. Maybe if that can be said, then what happens? And also a concern when in case of abandoned homes or in case of where the number of special children living together. Now some of the homes were impacted with corona, so the inmates were. So what happens? Obviously they don't have a home to go, so they are quarantined there. Those who have a home to go were sent back home. Now is this the right thing to do? So what happens to their mental health at that point of time? So do they feel wanted? Do they feel not wanted? It's not a question of wanted or not wanted. It's a question of the medical the reason, the emergency that things are being taken care of. Even for a regular person, you don't know what to do. I've had my friends who have been quarantined who say that they were really they really lost it at the end of 10 days, 14 days, in spite of having all your faculties right and you have your thinking right, it's for a short period. But for the intellectually challenged, it's going to be tough. And even for the physically challenged, it's going to be more tough because obviously accessibility in terms of even using infrastructure, using the the bathrooms, using how to be be in a completely sanitized environment is not easy. So honestly, I don't have an answer for that. I just know that these are the situations that did exist, and maybe that's it is still existing. We really don't have an answer to that. It will be good if we can have some experts give their views on to what can be done in situations like this. I'm sure there are answers. I'm sure there are people taking care as I speak, but maybe that could be highlighted so that those who are unaware can also somewhere use. If we are talking about policies, of course, there are lots of things that to be done in the field of special need community, because starting from accessible malls to accessible parks, only slowly we are there in terms of infrastructure. If we are talking about education policy, again, it is very, very vast, and there is no concrete special education curriculum that we are seeing across. So it is very difficult even when students move from school to school. What is it? So it's again a question of assessment. So there is a lot of standardization that is required in the special need curriculum, and there are people working towards it, but I think it would require more effort, more of a team spirit. So which is why we feel from SNE, the Special Need Empowerment Hub, we started with the last mile. We started with the last mile of employment, because it is slightly more easier, more concrete in terms of saying that okay, A, B, C, D has A, B, C, D skills. So how can you put all that together to do something that will give them an employment? So like that, we might have to work also, top down to see what can be done in the middle age, say between 10 to 16 or 10 to 18. What could be the classification? So the number of schools offering a lot of such programs. There are a number of special schools, a number of NGOs doing it. Maybe it would be good if many of them come together to have also a platform for common education, special education curriculum. Like how you have the ICSE, CBSE matriculation. Today we don't see anything like that for special education. Maybe it will be a good thing to have. Then it's not even in terms of assessing the special need. It is only the term, it's only merely helping them to learn better whatever they want to learn. Like how everybody is forced to learn life skills now better in this point of time. Maybe even an education plan that way would help all of them to be better. So I definitely think there's a lot of structure that needs to come in at various levels, whether it is early intervention or at an adolescent learning, or at a post training level where we are talking about employment, sheltered opportunities. So at every level, definitely it would help to have more structure. So more experts coming together, together to work on a common some kind of an engagement. And for again, I think we should use this period of togetherness to come back together in every aspect that we can, and see the substance of what we want to do, and try to do that more together, which will be whether it is holistic or whether it is going to be with some amount of realistic approach, practical approach. Whatever the approach we look at it, maybe it really help if more people come together, because there are people doing a lot of good work at every level. At every level of training, there is a lot of good work, hard work and commitment that is going. So maybe it is just a question of bringing everything together. I think that would be one of the greater ways of, when we are talking about investment, that kind of an energy investment, I think would be, really, really good, where we would see more, results. And also, it is only then accessible to all. See, today we cannot do much about the economic accessibility, right? For even during the COVID, only those who had smartphones could actually access the online platform training. There are some people who were disadvantaged who couldn't. Now there were so many people coming forward to help with laptop distribution, help with smartphone distribution. All this is good, but finally, it's not that we can take control of this entire socio-economic partiality that exists, but instead maybe an investment in terms of coming together, the energy investment, coming together, trying to have more structure in what everybody is doing, and try to somewhere combine the structure. I think that would be worth all the efforts that everybody is taking. So maybe your other speakers, more people that you meet also, with all this, the questions that you have, somewhere I think there could be some answers that can be born out of this.